Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Taffy and basically I'm just going to use this channel to talk about all the things that I enjoy. So it's going to be a mix of many things. For today's video, welcome if you are new here. First video on my channel. And I'm going to be speaking about a very specific, a very iconic animal, that being your African penguins. So ta-da! For this video I'll be using my whiteboard. Just having this whiteboard over here really just brings the whole video together. So I'm going to be just drawing a little bit on the board, as you can see over here, as well as just using it to highlight the few points that I want to be speaking about. So if you like animals, which I think many of us do, I'll be talking about this animal specifically, the African penguin, picture included. And if that's something you enjoy, well, I hope you can enjoy it with me. So as I mentioned before, African penguin. Well, I'm speaking about the African penguin and not any other penguin specifically. I'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, just a disclaimer, if this is your first time hearing about the penguin and this is your first time seeing an African penguin, using this image over here, a little bit sorry. I do think that my drawing is quite close to the reference picture, which I will add in a little bit. But if you want to yeah, it's a rough sketch, but it does get the image across. So yeah, I'll just speaking about the penguin, who they are, what they do, and why they're super duper important. So let's, as the penguins would say, let's dive into it. Here is your fact sheet for your African penguin about the who, what, where, and why. So your why is more like why we should care, or why I'm speaking about them. I'll get to that when I get to point 4. To start off, who is an African penguin? Who? Your African penguins, their scientific name is your Spheniscus demersus. So you'll see in my artistic rendition of my penguin, the scientific name is the same that is written in the very band-like fashion on the front of their belly. So with your Spheniscus demersus, your African penguin, they fall under the Spheniscus genus. So there are 3 other penguin species that form part of the Spheniscus genus, and if you look at them side by side, your African, your Galapagos, your Humboldt, and your Magellanic, they all have a very distinctive feature in common, that being this black band, and that one over there. Those 4 penguins of the 18 species in the wild, they are known as your banded penguins because of that black band feature, but they are also known as your jackass penguins. So the reason they were given such a descriptive name was because of the sound that they would make when they would call, or when they would vocalize. It sounds very similar to a donkey bray, which is crazy. And yeah, such an interesting feature. What is an African penguin? An African penguin is a penguin. And what is a penguin? It is a flightless seabird. So they are a marine species. They are a bird, not a fish. They are flightless seabirds. If you compare a seabird, a seagull, a kelp gull to your penguins, the difference is in the bones in their wings. So your flying seabirds use their wings to fly. Your penguins, the bones in those wings are a bit modified, so it's more flipper structure, it's more dense, and so they use these flippers to swim. Where do they swim? Where are they found? The African penguins, first and foremost, are your only species found on the African continent, and more specifically, their habitat is in South Africa, more specifically the coastline of South Africa, and it extends up to a little bit of Namibia. And then why am I speaking about them? As I mentioned before, they are facing extinction. These birds have been facing many threats in the past and in the present, and because of the way that they were targeted, because of the way that they were overexploited, it had a disastrous impact on the population, and they have never been given like a chance to recuperate, or their population numbers just couldn't bounce back from what it looked like in the past. And unfortunately, they are facing extinction. So it's incredibly sad. But yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. So back to the board once again. If you take a closer look, take a goosey gander at spot the difference between the previous penguin and this one, you'll see that this one has got some spots. So the reason I like the African penguins, they've got quite a unique appearance. But yeah, so first off, with the spot pattern, as I drew some spots in here, every African penguin has got their own unique spot pattern, which is pretty cool because like it's as unique as your fingerprints, and no penguin has got the same spot pattern. So you have like offspring, the parents' penguin spot pattern, it sometimes influences the offspring, but still it's completely different to the mom and dad penguin. Second off, with your African penguins, they've got quite a distinct feather coating. So their feathers are black and white, and they've got these black backs and these white bellies. So this is a common feature you'll see in your marine animals. It's called counter shading. Typically, your top side and your underside of the animal's body will look different, either in coloration or patterns or spots, and it's one of the ways that they have like built-in protection against predators. So typically the top side of the body helps them blend in with their environment. So if you're like a flatter animal, the top side is the side that could be seen a little bit more than your underside, and so having a top side that allows you to camouflage in with your habitat or your environment, it is to your benefit. So with your penguins, the top side of their body when they are swimming is their black backs, and their white bellies face the bottom of your marine environment, so your oceans. So yeah, if you're a penguin and you're trying to avoid a predator when you are diving and things like that, it does help that you have a darker top side to blend in with the bottom of the ocean, where your underside blends in with the light sky, just to help break up that body structure a little bit. And then the third part that I just want to highlight, so if you look at this drawing over here, there is this patch that is uncolored in by my black marker, like this over here. And when you look at your pictures of your penguins, this spot, it is pink actually. So that pink spot is their bare skin, and it's one of the ways that they can help regulate their body temperature. So with penguins, their feathers are very important to them because it keeps them warm, keeps them waterproof. With penguins, that would be found in your colder regions, so Antarctica and islands like your southernmost point of the world, they need to be able to stay warm. But like with your African penguins or penguins found in your more temperate regions, they need to find ways to stay cool. So this spot over here, this pink bare spot of skin, it helps them cool down their temperature. So if it gets too warm or if the temperature rises, they can bring the blood quite close to that skin over there, and it helps cool the blood down. And as they do this, as they bring more blood, when it's warmer, it turns more pink. And if the temperatures are cooler, and to conserve energy, it turns pale pink. So that's a pretty cool fact as well. So this board shows the population declines of your African penguins from the year 1956 and 2009. So the African penguins, they are facing extinction currently. The current threats that they are facing is your overfishing, it's climate change, habitat degradation, but the impact of these threats is not like your standalone. So in the past, these penguins were targeted species. Their eggs and their guano was considered very valuable resources to be collected, to be used, and so the eggs and guano were removed from the colonies of these African penguins. So the impact of these threats impacted the population number. So with the guano, it's the penguin poop, the penguins would use it as the nesting material. So if they didn't have nesting material to create a cool temperature for the eggs during breeding season, if they didn't have the eggs which would hatch into adults to continue the population, this created instability in their population numbers in the wild. So in the past, those are the main threats that they were facing, and that was one of the main reasons for these steady population declines. But even though those threats, like your guano and egg harvesting, it's not something that is done currently, the penguins didn't have a chance to recoup or recover from such heavy threats. So their populations were really unstable, really not doing well in the wild. And if we look at the difference in your breeding pairs, so the number of breeding pairs are your individuals that can produce offspring. From 1956 to 2009, that is a drop in numbers from 141,000 breeding pairs to 25,000 breeding pairs. And then if we look at the 2021 census, which is roughly 3 years ago, it shows that there are 14,700 breeding pairs left globally. This is not a good sign. So because of the threats that we're facing now, overfishing, the fishing practices are targeting their main food source, which is your sardines, your anchovies, your horse mackerel. They are being impacted by climate change, your habitat degradation, the things they need to produce offspring and have a steady population number. It's just all these threats are combining and having an overall negative impact. So African penguin has lost over 97% of its population, which means that there's only 3% left. This means they need as much help as possible. There are many ways that we can help these penguins. This doesn't have to be the end. It's such a bizarre thing because they are declining and they are going extinct right in front of our eyes. But this doesn't have to be the be-all and end-all for these birds. We can help them as much as possible. So if you go to the Sandcarp website, you'll see the work that they are doing, the conservation efforts. You look on BirdLife, you also know that these many NGOs are taking the government to court. But us as individuals can also do what we can for the penguins. So we can learn more about them. We can take a look at our fisheries and seafood intake. So us as consumers of seafood can also have an influence on the types of fish that are offered to us. So if you go on to the SASSI website, you'll also learn more about them and what we can do to help. And also just being a more eco-friendly and eco-conscious individual by reducing your plastic usage, doing beach cleanups, anything that is by doing beach cleanups, every little bit helps. So yeah, that was my 2 cents on the African penguins. We'll see how much of it actually ends up in the video, but yeah, that's me.